The Man with the Golden Gun by Ian Fleming, narrated by Kenneth Branagh. This is one of my least favorite Bond books, along with The Spy Who Loved Me. Some scenarios are inspired by scenes in other, better Bond books, and there's a lot of filler. A lot of it. We are treated to descriptions of two dreams, for example. It does have its moments, but overall I find it hard to truly like the story. It's also a case where the film shares only the title and one of the main characters, in this case Scaramanga, with the book. The rest of the film is a completely new story. What marks this book out from the others in the series is that the story arc continues from the previous book, You Only Live Twice. That book ends with Bond having received a head wound and suffering from amnesia. MI5 presume him to be dead. However, he is nursed back to health by Kissy Suzuki, who hopes to keep him with her. But Bond sees the word of Vladivostok on a scrap of newspaper and becomes fixated, sure he is somehow connected to the city. This book picks up from there, with Bond having been picked up by the Russians and brainwashed. He returns to London, where nobody recognizes him strangely, only to attempt to assassinate M, who we find out is actually called Miles. This obviously fails, and after being deprogrammed and rehabilitated by MI6, Bond is given a chance at redemption through what appears to be an impossible mission. Bond's assignment takes him to Jamaica, where he must eliminate Cuban KGB associate Francisco Scaramanga, a notorious freelance assassin nicknamed the Man with the Golden Gun. Bond goes undercover to infiltrate Scaramanga's criminal organization, which hopes to destabilize the sugar trade in the Caribbean of all things. During his undercover work, Bond unexpectedly reconnects with his former secretary, Mary Goodnight, who has a small but integral part to play in the story. At one point, Bond is staying at a hotel with Scaramanga and some of his henchmen, and wouldn't you know it, but his old buddy Felix Leiter is also there. Scaramanga becomes aware of Bond's true identity and plans to eliminate him during what was meant to be a routine sightseeing train ride. Things happen which involve Leiter in the end. Obviously, I'm leaving a lot out, so I don't spoil it for anyone. When Fleming wrote the Bond novels, he generally produced one draft which he sent to his publisher before starting work on the second draft. After writing the first draft of this, he wrote to a friend, "This is, alas, the last Bond, and, again alas, I mean it, for I really have run out of puff and zest." And it shows. Unfortunately, Fleming died while working on the second draft. It's a shame that this is how Fleming's Bond legacy ended. Who knows how he might have polished this turd. He may have made it half decent, as for me, the story's a bit rambling and lacking tension. The scene with Bond and Scaramanga after the train journey just seems so predictable. The novel and film versions of The Man with the Golden Gun differ significantly in both plot structure and tone. The book begins with a dramatic Russian backstory that is entirely absent from the film. The film, meanwhile, centers around the theft of a Solex agitator and Scaramanga's solar energy weapon, creating a typical Bond megalomaniac scenario. The book then takes a more realistic, in inverted commas, approach, focusing on Scaramanga's criminal enterprise and his plan to unite American crime syndicates, with no sci-fi elements at all. The book is set primarily in Jamaica, which creates a more intimate and realistic atmosphere. The film, meanwhile, is famous for Scaramanga's lair in Thailand. As for characters, the novel includes Mary Goodnight, who has made appearances in previous novels, although sometimes with only a passing reference. However, never having been mentioned in any of the Connery films, there was no need to introduce her into the Moore film. Meanwhile, Knick-Knack, Scaramanga's loyal dwarf henchman, does not exist in the novel at all. The tone and style are completely different in the book and the film. The book maintains a serious, gritty tone throughout, like a straightforward spy adventure, while the film introduces comic elements that the Moore era of films was famous for, including booby traps, gadgets, and the funhouse final battle at the end, not to mention trapping Knick-Knack in the suitcase, and of course Roger Moore's puntastic one-liners. I can't say that the film is better than the book, it's simply a different story. Back to the audiobook, I was ready to hate Branagh's reading of this. Knowing he would have to put on some accents, I was ready to cringe, as I find his Poirot an abomination, but he very pleasantly surprised me. The accents he does don't jar, and his reading voice is very pleasant to listen to. He reminds me a lot of David Rintoul, who previously read the books. I can think of no higher praise. So, all in all, his audiobook was okay, but just okay. Branagh says what could easily have been a very boring book. Note, this version is no longer available to buy from Audible. I believe that the publisher removed the original versions in 2023 and replaced them with censored versions which removed derogatory references to race and homosexuality. The American version of Audible now has the new versions of the first 4 Bond novels. Unfortunately, this means that some great performances, like Branagh's, are no longer available. Would I listen to another Ian Fleming novel? Yes. Would I listen to another audiobook narrated by Kenneth Branagh? Actually, yes. All in all, I'd give the book a 3 out of 5 and the performance a 5 out of 5. How about you? Have you listened to this or any of the other Bond novels? Do you have a favourite narrator? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe as I release a new review every week. Thanks for watching.